Hello everyone, my name is Ian and you're watching Big Rock Moto. Thanks so much for tuning in, and if you're new here and you like this kind of content, I hope you'll consider subscribing. Now, today I am reviewing Honda's $3,000 150cc dual sport, the XR150L. We're going to change up my normal review format just a little bit today, so we're mainly going to focus on answering 7 main questions that I think a lot of people have about the XR150. So let's go ahead and get started. I think it'll be useful to begin by just taking a quick walk around and just quickly covering the specs and features of the bike. So the bike here in the US costs about $3,000. It weighs 282 pounds or about 127 kilograms. That's fully fueled up with 2.8 gallons or 10.5 liters of fuel. That gives you a riding range of, you know, realistically, probably because it gets such good fuel economy, over 150 miles or 250 kilometers. So pretty good for a small little motorcycle. The seat height is about 33 inches or 838 millimeters, but I'm going to tell you it feels lower than that to me because the seat's kind of narrow and it's scooped out here on the sides, and the bike kind of squats down. It feels more like 31 or 32 inches to me, but that's just my opinion. Horsepower and torque, tons of power and torque. Well, just kidding. It's about 12 horsepower. It's an air-cooled, carbureted, single-cylinder engine. A little workhorse of an engine, you know, it has to work really hard to power this bike, but it's really happy to do it. It's not a fast motorcycle. Tires and wheel, so it's interesting, you have a 19-inch front wheel, not a 21, and then in the back you have a 17-inch wheel. Also, notice the tires are very narrow, like especially the back tire is quite narrow. It's more narrow than you might see on a lot of larger motorcycles. Suspension travel, 7 inches in the front, really skinny forks, you don't have any adjustments of any kind, and about 6 inches in the back. So it's enough to do some off-road riding, you just can't ride very fast. And then walking around the bike, you can see the front fender, headlight. You don't have any LED lighting. I mean, come on, don't ask for too much on a bike at this price point. You don't have adjustable levers, obviously. Real simple handlebar control switches. I like the instrumentation. You know, you've got a big speedometer. It only needs to go to 60 because I can't get the bike to go over 55. Couple indicator lights, tubular handlebar, fuel tank, seat. I like this rack. I mean, there's, you know, I've ridden $15,000 motorcycles that don't have as good a rack as that, so I appreciate that. That's very utilitarian. Passenger pegs, you can't take a passenger. Drum brake, it's one of the few motorcycles that still uses a drum brake. I guess there's no license plate, so that's good. Get pulled over. Let's see, chain drive, foot pegs are pretty small. You can upgrade that kind of stuff. Shift lever, which it looks weird sticking out like that off the shaft, but I guess that's normal. Kickstand works normally. Basic. It's just basic, okay? Now, this is one of the only bikes these days that still has a fuel. Well, the word is petcock, okay? That's just the word that it is. I'm sorry. It's called a petcock. You can call it a valve. You can call it a tap, whatever you want. But basically, you can turn the fuel on, off, or to reserve. So there is a reserve fuel. If you run out, you can switch that over, and you probably have 20 or 30 miles on a reserve tank. So that's kind of the tour of the XR150. So the XR150L is one of the only carbureted bikes you can still buy today. Carburetor is an old school way of getting fuel into the engine. Now, what it means is that for me here, I'm at some elevation, about 4,500 feet where I live. It's also a little bit cool this morning, but not cold. I have to, you know, kind of mess with the carburetor. So there's a lever here. It's like a choke lever. I have to push that all the way down. And then the bike starts with that, but it's a little bit cold-blooded. The bike's running. It's so quiet you can barely hear it. And it has a little trouble getting warmed up. I mean, not trouble, but it just takes a second to get it warmed up. This is how motorcycles all used to be. We've just gotten spoiled with fuel injection. So you really have to let the bike warm up a little bit on a cool morning, especially if you've been sitting a while or you have some elevation. So carburetors cannot really adjust for differences in elevation as well as fuel injection can. What else you notice when you jump on the XR, you feel like it's super light and small, like it feels like almost a toy for me compared to what I'm used to. I like the dashboard. You notice the tiny fork diameter. I've never seen such small forks. My mountain bike definitely has better forks than that. So everything is definitely budget oriented, but it doesn't feel crappy or really cheap or anything. And it's actually very comfortable to sit up on here like it's a full-size motorcycle. It's not like a kid's motorcycle or something like that. All right, so a lot of people are wondering, what's the highway capability of the XR150? So let me show you the acceleration and sort of how we can cruise here up on the highway. 20 miles an hour, full throttle, 30 miles an hour, 35, 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour, 48, 50. Come on, baby, come on little Honda, come on little Honda. 53 miles an hour. Come on, little girl, come on. 54. Throttle is wide open. 53. So you can see, actually I can't get the bike to go 60. So maybe it's because of my weight. I'm about 200 pounds, about 90 kilograms. Maybe it's because of the elevation here, about 4,600 feet, which is about what, I don't know, 1,500 meters, something like that. Come on, little bike. 53. It's like, it'll go about 55. There's 55. But I have the throttle all the way open. So that's about the capability. You're not going to take this bike on the freeway. It's simply, you'll just die. You'll get run over, right? And this bike was designed not so much for the US market. It was designed for other countries where they don't have really high-speed, you know, highways or anything. And 55 is fast enough for a lot of places in the world. And actually, you know what? Cruising at 55, you don't feel any vibration. The motor's really quiet and smooth. Like, it's actually not a bad bike to cruise down the highway. You just, now I'm down to 50. There's a slight uphill, so I've dropped down. You can downshift, but yeah, there we go. It's just, it's really pokey, okay? So you're just gonna have to live with it. Is it highway capable? It depends on your definition of a highway. So here's the gear I'm using for today's review. Starting at the bottom, I'm wearing the Forma Adventure boots. These are my most comfortable and most flexible adventure boots. Really enjoy riding with these. I'm wearing the Moto Woodsman pant. These are the in the boot version. These are the most comfortable motorcycle pants that I own. Very well vented. I love the pockets, and they do use, you have to use separate armor. They don't have integrated armor pockets. Then I'm using Revit Scram knee guards underneath here, which are some of the more comfortable knee guards that I've found. I test a lot of gear. Revit Proteus chest protector. It's actually a pressure suit. It has armor all throughout the whole upper body, and it's comfortable and form-fitting, and it's one of my favorite pressure suits that I've tried. Then I'm wearing the Moto workhorse jersey. It has quite a bit of abrasion protection, so, you know, for doing more mixed riding, but it's very cool when you take off your jacket and you're riding on a trail. For gloves, I'm using the Alpinestars Halo glove. I like these gloves. The touchscreen things work good, and they have good ventilation. I also just like the yellow highlights. Then I'm using the Cryosphero helmet with my GoPro 11. I use a GoPro 11 black mounted up with a Purple Panda mic. All this stuff is linked below. All the gear is linked below in a description and a pinned comment. The thing I love about this setup right here that I'm wearing, it's one of the most comfortable setups that I have. The pants are stretchy. They're super stretchy, so they're mobile. You never feel constricted. You don't feel like you're wearing a tent or something, and they're also form-fitting, so, you know, they're not too baggy. And the jersey's super comfortable. This is a great outfit for dual sport and adventure riding. Next question, is the XR150 a good beginner motorcycle? I think the answer is mostly yes. For riding around town, for urban riding, for roads under 55 miles per hour or under about 90 to 100 kilometers an hour, or if you want to learn off-road and dual sport riding, maybe your dream is to someday do adventure riding with the big, powerful adventure bikes, start on something like this. It's less intimidating. The 150L is low to the ground, low seat height, and it's also lightweight. Even though the spec sheet may not seem like it's super light, it feels extremely light. So I can lean the bike pretty much all the way over, and I'm not even that strong, as you guys often comment in the videos, and I can lift it up. So it's very non-intimidating. And I can show you the riding position here. I'm 5'10", 1.78 meter, 32-inch leg inseam, and look at my reach to the ground. Like, it's so easy to reach the ground on this bike. And the bike just feels extremely easy and friendly and approachable. So yes, it is good for beginners. Other bikes you could look at, TW200, CRF250, CRF300, KLX300 if you want a little bit more capability. But if you're on a budget and you don't need a lot of power, this is an awesome bike. Here's a question. What if you want to ride in a sand wash with the XR150? This is not traditionally something I'd really enjoy doing on an adventure bike or a heavy bike. But with the XR, it's a play bike. It's super easy to putt around. So even though the sand is really deep, you just kind of have to keep your momentum. These tires are really not working very well in the sand, but if you get stuck, just get off. I mean, the bike doesn't weigh very much, and it's not difficult to deal with. So you just get off and push, or use the throttle. If you drop it, it's really no big deal. It does struggle a bit with power in the sand, so it's best to keep your momentum. I think with a better tire, it would definitely be a lot better. The thing about the XR150 is it reminds me of being a kid again. It makes me want to explore. It feels carefree. Like, I see this little single track here, and I just want to go explore and see where it goes. And if I drop into the sand wash, you know, it's no big deal. Like, it's just fun, right? And it has that sense of exploration, that sense of wonder, of curiosity, and I'm not being stressed out about it. No ABS, no traction control, no electronics. It's just a basic motorcycle. Next question, is this a motorcycle that you're going to outgrow and have to get rid of it? Potentially, yes. I think it might be, but also that might be okay, and also maybe no in some ways, because here's the thing. Let's say you outgrow this, but what if you have a brother or sister who wants to learn riding? What if you have kids who want to learn riding? What if your spouse wants to get into riding? Plus, if you do go on and graduate to a bigger, more powerful, more expensive bike, you might want to keep something like this around in the garage for just exploring on trails, like I've been showing in today's video. It's not an expensive bike. It doesn't take up much room. It's not going to cost anything to maintain or insure. You can stick it in the back of your truck, or if you have a motorhome, in the back of the motorhome. And yeah, you might outgrow it in terms of capability, but even though, like for me, I'm a fairly experienced motorcyclist and I ride adventure bikes a lot, I still love riding this, and I'd love to have one of these because it just gives me that sense of being a kid again and exploring anywhere I want to go. And I just don't have to think much about riding it. So yes, you might outgrow it, but I also think that might be okay, and you might decide to keep it around. If you do sell it, I don't think you're going to lose a ton of money down the road. All right, now, what if you're to drop or crash your XR150? Is it easy to pick up? Well, let's find out. Oh no, we've dropped our motorcycle. But not to worry, because again, it's a small, low to the ground, relatively lightweight bike. We are leaking gas, maybe a little bit. It stopped. I think we're good there. You can see, that's a good, see if you want to do your oil change, there you go, right there. Perfect access. Probably get a skid plate if you're going to do off-road. Let's go ahead and lift the bike up. You've got this nice rear rack, which really helps you have something to grab onto. Of course, I always forget to put the bike in gear so it rolls, but you know what? That wasn't difficult at all. That was very easy. No stress, no fuss, no muss. The only tears you will be crying will be tears of joy. Because the 150 is so, you know, small and nimble, you can get away with things that you might not on a larger bike. Let's say you're on like a tight trail, pretend this is a really like enclosed area, we need to turn a bike around. Well, you can just do this, right? Now another question is, can the XR do a burnout? Well, on the dirt it can. Maybe not on the street. Whee! Woo! The thing is, you can have so much fun and you don't have to go very fast. So, can you take the XR150 on single track or dirt bike trails? Well, let's find out and talk about it a little bit. The great thing about having such a small, light bike is that you're more likely to explore stuff that you come across. So the way that that's a big branch. The way that I've learned to ride this bike off-road is you just kind of putt along. You know, you're not racing it, you're not jumping it, you're not riding it like an enduro bike. It's an exploration bike, right? That's the cool thing about it, is that I'm not intimidated to like take it somewhere where I'm not really sure how the trail is going to be, because I can almost pick the thing up and move it. And if I need to stop, the ground is just right there. It's so much fun. These, you know, some people call these like farm bikes or whatever, like this, or the TW200. And they really do have a purpose. I'd love to have one of these. It'd be such a great motorcycle to like stick on the back of the motorhome or something like that. This is actually really enjoyable. And you can go so slow, and the throttle's so easy to manipulate. And you really just sit down and ride it. You know, you're not riding this like a dirt bike, because, well, it's not a dirt bike. Whee! Man, it's so gentle. It's so easy to ride. Oh, this is beautiful up here. I wonder where that goes. I don't know. I don't know, sir. Oh, that's interesting. I've never been down here before. This is very interesting. I do not know where we're going. But yes, you can ride the XR on single track. And in fact, if you just want to explore and see things you wouldn't otherwise see, what an awesome motorcycle to do it on. All right, next question. Is the XR150 worth $3,000? Now, of course, dealerships are going to charge you things on top of that. So shop around, try to not get ripped off, right? You shouldn't be paying $5,000 for this bike, in my opinion. Is it worth $3,000 plus tax and license? Yeah, I really think it is. Look at what things cost nowadays. I mean, both my bicycles cost far more than this entire motorcycle does. And this is a motorcycle. Think of all the things you can do with this bike. Yeah, it's not fast. It can't go 70 miles an hour. It can't fly through the desert off jumps, but you could put this bike on the back of a motorhome or back of your truck and take your trailer around the country and explore. You can use this bike to commute to work as long as you're not going on the freeway. You could use this bike to help family members learn to ride. Maybe your spouse wants to start riding. Maybe one of your kids wants to start riding and they're getting a little bit older. Maybe you want to learn to off-road ride. So if you want to get into dual sport or adventure riding or off-road riding, don't start on a big, heavy, powerful bike or an expensive bike. Start on something like this. Is it worth $3,000? Yeah, because, you know, even if you outgrow it in a few years and you sell it, what? You're probably going to still sell it for like $2 grand, $2,500. Like, how much are you really going to lose? And think of all the enjoyment you're going to get for that small amount of depreciation that you had to pay. Maintenance and running costs are going to be very low, and it's a Honda, so it's not really going to break down or be unreliable. There's going to be no drama with it. You could stick it in the garage, let it sit for a few months. It's going to fire right up and work just fine. Final thoughts on a Honda XR150L. This motorcycle is affordable, easy to ride, fun, basic, low maintenance, low running cost, and it could be enjoyed by just about any kind of rider at any level of experience. So it's really hard not to recommend this bike. Keep in mind the pros and cons, keep in mind the limitations that I've shown in the review, but I think this bike will make a lot of people very happy, and I'm really glad that Honda decided to bring such an affordable entry-level bike here to the US. I think it's a really good move on Honda's part. Let me know what you think of this bike down in the comments below. Other than that, if you want to support independent journalism, I would greatly appreciate that. You can support the channel. There's ways to do that in the description and a pinned comment below. Other than that, ride safe, and I'll see you out there.